Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 533.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about 8 things to do to save more to retire early. But before I share this great article with you, I just want to say thank you and congratulations to everyone who won prizes in the drawing for leaving reviews on Amazon and also on the podcast. If you haven't heard, we had our winners announced in the last episode and in the last show notes. So check the show notes from the last podcast 532, and see if you're a winner. And if you are, send me an email and let me know. Instructions are in the show notes. And thank you again to everyone who participated. Don't forget, we're going to have another review drawing at the end of this month as well. As you know, I love to find articles for you that I hand pick for you that are something that gels with the philosophy that I have about wealth building, about saving money, about reducing debt or retiring early. And this article really struck me. It was a little bit of a different flair to it. And the full title of it is 8 Things I Should Have Done Differently While Saving Money to Retire Early at 38. And it was written by Tanya Hester of Wallet Hacks. So I'm going to share with you my opinion as we go through her 8 tips. And this is going to be fun because it's a little bit of a different angle, and this woman did retire at age 38. She's talking about what she and her husband would have done differently before retiring early, and it makes the bullet point that for one thing, they would have used all of their vacation time, and for another, they would have gotten smarter about airline and hotel points. So let's go through and find out what this article is all about. It says, my husband Mark and I retired early a little more than a year ago when I was 38 and Mark was 41 after saving aggressively for 6 years. Along the way, we made plenty of mistakes, both financial and mental. And if I can spare you a little stress by sharing them, then I'm glad to do it. This is what we'd change if we got a do-over, some of which I discuss in more detail in Work Optional, Retire Early in the Non-Penny Pinching Way. What we would have done differently while saving early for retirement if we'd known better. Number 1, use all of our vacation time. The entire point of retiring early was to have more time away from work. And yet as we got closer and closer to achieving our goal, we got so focused on reaching it that we didn't want to take time away from earning as much as we could. That came to a head in our second to last year of work when we both hit a point of total burnout and weren't even sure if we could make it through our last year of work. The reason? We hardly took any vacation that year. If we had to do it all over again, we would slow down just a little and use all of our vacation time along the way because resting and relaxing are super important, and we forgot just how important self-care is on your journey. In our last year of work, we did it right and used all of our vacation time, including taking a 2-week trip to Japan that was beyond wonderful. If you're pursuing a similar goal, focus on pacing yourself and on living a life you enjoy while you're saving, rather than deferring all joy to the future. That future is never guaranteed, after all. So that's point 1, and I have to completely agree with that. You have to live every day because there is no guarantee of another day. As a woman whose husband died very suddenly, I can definitely attest to the fact that you just don't know when death is going to happen. And because of that, you have to make sure that you're really enjoying life. That doesn't mean that you have to spend like crazy, but it does mean that you need to prioritize what you really want to use your money for. Things like vacation are really important because not only can you rest and rejuvenate, but it's also been proven to improve your health, to lower stress, and just to give you better overall good feelings. Not to mention probably help your relationship too. And she had mentioned the mental side of it as well. Certainly the mental side is super important, and we talk a lot about mindset on the Be Wealthy and Smart podcast, as you know, because creating a wealthy mindset is number one. A lot of times when people are trying to retire early, they do live this meager existence, which puts money above everything in their life. And that's where I don't agree 100% with the FIRE movement. Financial independence, retire early. FIRE. Because rather than being a consumer, which I don't think I really am a huge proponent of consuming things, I am all about experiences, and I am about having a full, rich life. Which, if you're living this meager existence and putting money above everything else, I like to say it's not long before you're going to be living out in the woods, because you're going to justify not having a house, you're going to justify not driving a car, you're going to justify not eating out in restaurants, not taking vacations, not having nice clothes or nice things. And pretty soon you're going to be in the woods. And that's not a great life for people. It's up to you what you want your life to be. But I can say I've experienced a lot of different things. And I love having the options to have a full life. I think everyone wants that financial freedom to be away from their job, and I get it, that jobs can make you feel like you're such a slave and miserable. But if that's the case, then work on finding a career that you really like, because there's nothing wrong with work. In fact, work is really good for personal development, for gaining confidence, for just developing your personality and your strengths and making you feel like you've accomplished something in life. So sometimes it's just a matter of connecting in more with your purpose. And once you've done that, maybe it will give you more joy in life. So often we've gone into a career just for the money. And that's where I think the disconnect happens, where people have a career that they decided on because it would make them a lot of money, and they felt that that would bring them happiness. And they realized it didn't bring them happiness. Instead, they have golden handcuffs into a career that they don't enjoy, don't like, and are stuck doing because they have this lifestyle they have to support. And that's where I think people try to turn the other way and say, well, I can live with less and I can retire early and get out of this. And I understand that. But if you didn't make that decision in the first place, you wouldn't have to feel that way. You could actually love your work, love what you do, feel like you're making a positive contribution, make a good wage, and enjoy life at the same time. It's not an either or. So I would just add to what she said that if you can connect in with your strengths and making a contribution that is really meaningful to you, I think that's another good way to really feel like you're connected into your work. And yes, using your vacation time is important. And that was her point in this first paragraph, was to use all of your vacation time. I think that's smart too. But like I said, if you are really living your purpose and you're connected into your strengths and what you really love to do, then you're not going to feel so desperate to have to get out of your career in the first place. All right, point number 2. Institute a work complaint ban sooner. One of the very best things we did to help us along on our saving journey was institute what we called the work complaint ban. Just as you are what you eat, you are what you think. And when we complain about things, we focus our minds on the negative rather than the positive. So we banned all complaining about work. We were allowed to recount things that had happened, and if something was truly egregious, we could complain about that in a very small dose, but we stopped allowing ourselves to complain about the fact that we had to work, the annoyances that would be normal in any job, and the annoyances specific to our jobs that would always be true. The result? We actually enjoyed work more and found that the journey to save for early retirement passed a lot more quickly. We instituted the ban with about 2 years left to work, and if we had to do it again, we would have put this rule into place much, much sooner. So I want to pause and say, yes, you get what you focus on. And if you're focusing on the negative and the complaining and what you don't like about work, of course, that's going to make it worse. So putting a ban on that, I think, was very wise, and they learned a lot from that. Focusing on what you actually like about your job, like about work, and how you connect it with your strengths is a good plan. Number 3, appreciate work more sooner. Similarly, in addition to stopping our complaints, we also would have taken the time sooner to appreciate our work. During my last year of work especially, I started practicing something I called nostalgia in advance, and it worked miraculously well to help me enjoy the work and feel more grateful for it. Whenever something I enjoyed at work was happening, I'd start a mental video recorder and say to myself, I'll look back on this fondly one day. It really helped me appreciate those good moments, but even more, it helped me get through the bad ones. When times were stressful, I'd tell myself, someday soon I'll look back on this and laugh about how serious it felt at the time, but how significant it was in the long run. And reminding myself of that helped me keep the bad moments in perspective, which made the whole journey more enjoyable. I'm going to pause there and say again, that's a great plan. I like that. Once again, focusing on the positive is so important to your mental health. Connecting in with the job in the first place that you really enjoy, which you're not going to enjoy, of course, 100% of the time, but which you can most of the time enjoy and feel like you're doing well, making a contribution to, and it's not a prison that you have to get yourself out of. That is super key. So I think being productive is a really positive thing because I know a lot of people who have retired early that were extremely bored and miserable and got very depressed. So people think, oh, getting away from my job is what's going to make me happy, only to find they really don't find happiness as an early retiree because all of their friends are still working. They don't have anyone to do anything with. They don't know exactly where they want to spend their time. They end up watching television, getting bored, and feeling depressed and wanting to go back to work because there is something about being productive and making a contribution that really helps us feel better and gives us more purpose in life. So again, connecting in with a job you love is really important. And this day and age, many people are going to make career changes. I think the average now is expected to be about 7 career changes in your lifetime. So no one is going to look down on anyone for making a career change. People understand these things, and moreover, a lot of people are doing it. So if you're not happy in your job, in your work, find something that really makes you happy. Number 4, invest more in Roth IRAs. On the financial side, our biggest mistake was not taking advantage of Roth IRAs while we were income eligible. We were fortunate to earn 6 figures each in our last several years of work, unlike our early years when we each earned peanuts while living in DC and LA, 2 expensive cities. And it wasn't until we were in that income bracket that we realized how helpful Roth IRA savings can be. By then, it was too late to take advantage of them. We consider this a good problem to have because obviously we were better off earning more than we would have been earning less, but saving in Roths. But still, hindsight is 20/20. If we'd gotten wise earlier on, we might have put the money into Roths rather than spending that money in our lower earning years. Well, I want to pause and say this is the first piece of financial advice that they have, and it's actually number 4, which tells you a lot about how important mindset is. One thing that's really interesting is if they had put money into their Roth IRAs, they obviously wouldn't be able to access that money until they were age 59 and a half, and they wouldn't have had that to use for their retirement income. So the fact that they didn't do it, while it was a mistake, they also have the flexibility of being able to use money that's not locked up in a Roth IRA. But having said that, the ideal thing would be to use the Roths to your advantage. Obviously, using a Roth IRA would mean that they locked up their money, but they also get the benefit of never having to pay tax on that. So they've eliminated tax in their future, which might be a tremendous benefit. Nobody knows what future tax rates will be, so it's hard to say. But we can all pretty much guess they're going to be higher than they are today. So it would have been a good move in their life if they had contributed to their Roth IRAs, gotten the tax-free growth, and also being able to take the money out tax-free at retirement later on. Number 5, not wasting energy clipping coupons. Before we got all gung-ho on saving for our work optional life, we were gung-ho on saving to buy our first home in Los Angeles where property is super expensive. And before that, I was really focused on paying off my credit card, car loan, and student loan debt. In many ways, saving for retirement is exactly the same as pursuing those other financial goals. It's just a smidge more ambitious. But during those earlier savings periods, I took a very penny-pinching approach to saving and spent huge amounts of time trying to track down the best grocery deals, which involved clipping coupons, matching them to the best deals, and shopping at multiple stores every week. And, in all honesty, it also involved walking around our neighborhood in LA to find coupon flyers our neighbors did not pick up so I could have multiples of every coupon. And it's true that while I shopped that way, we were spending very little on groceries, but I was also spending a ton of time on all of it, and we were eating a lot of junk food because that's what coupons tend to be for. Looking back, it wasn't worth it. Now we'll happily pay a bit more for groceries, but eat healthier stuff and avoid wasting all that time tracking down deals and driving all over town. I learned an important lesson from it all, that it's far better to look for the big opportunities to save money, like by minimizing housing and transportation costs, and to skip the savings methods that only save you a few pennies at a time, especially if those methods consume a lot of time. Your time has a value too. That's why non-penny pinching is in the title of the book. So I want to pause there and say, you've heard me talk about this before, to watch the big dollars, not the little dollars. And I've done several podcasts on how to save tens of thousands of dollars, because that is much more important than the pennies. And the pennies in the groceries, I understand it's easy to get caught up in that, but unless you make a very small income, it doesn't really make percentage-wise a very big difference. What makes the big difference is getting the tens of thousands of dollars right. And so if you haven't listened to those podcasts of mine, I encourage you to go back and listen to those and make sure you're mastering all of those episodes about how to save tens of thousands of dollars. While I was growing up, my mom was big on coupons, and she'd go through the weekly paper looking for grocery coupons. She was raising 5 children, so we ate a lot of food, and groceries were a big part of our budget. That might be helpful if you have a big family. And I could see where using coupons could really help. But when it's just a couple, and if it's mostly for junk food in particular, that's not helping your quality of life. And like she said, it was on the small side in terms of their savings. What I suggest she could have done with her time is to start a side hustle that would have paid her well, provided some tax deductions for being an entrepreneur, and could have given them extra income to save and put away toward their goal of early retirement. That would have been a much better use of her time rather than getting $5 or $10 done in an hour, or driving around to all these different places using extra gas and treating her time like it wasn't of much value. Being in the technology world, they probably were earning $50 or more an hour. And being an entrepreneur, she could easily do a side hustle that would pay her at least that much. So they could have extended their high income earnings had they looked for a side hustle instead of using it on coupons. So I completely agree with her on this one. Number 6, not stocking up right before we left work. In the months before we quit working, I started to worry that we'd never be able to buy anything again, and I stocked up on a bunch of things, including new socks, underwear, soap, shampoo, and a few other random things. In hindsight, that was so silly. We built a strong and conservative early retirement financial plan, and we'll always be able to afford those things and much more. But the gravity of what we were doing, walking away from well-paid careers and leaping into the great unknown, got to me a bit and made me take on a scarcity mentality temporarily. Fortunately, I learned from that and got over it quickly. So I want to pause and say there's mindset again, coming back. The scarcity mindset, the worry that you won't have enough, the worry that you'll run out of money, that you'll be a bag lady. That's a big one for women, is super real. It definitely comes into play if you're getting scared and you're in a fear state of mind. And that's why focusing on the positive, focusing on the things you want to have in your subconscious mind, focusing on how to get a wealthy mindset, those are all things that are super important. And if you haven't listened to my podcast on mindset, I really encourage you to do that. I give you the actual affirmations to say to change your limiting beliefs. Number 7, gotten smart about airline and hotel points sooner. We retired with about 3 million hotel and airline points banked, thanks to a lot of work travel over a lot of years. I was always smart about sticking with one airline, and we each had United credit cards, but we didn't pay attention to other travel hacking opportunities until our last few years of work. Unfortunately, we squandered a ton of hotel points by not focusing on one or two chains. We even let some points expire. If we had to do it again, we'd focus on staying with one hotel chain and making sure we didn't lose any points due to inactivity. We could probably have another million or more hotel points if we'd done that. Well, I want to pause and say, I think that's a great tip because hotel points and airline points are a great benefit and can save you many thousands of dollars per year. This is something that I've done over the years. I typically fly on Alaska Airlines up to Seattle, my hometown. So I have an Alaska credit card that I use. And I also like to stay at Ritz-Carlton hotels. So now they've joined with Starwood, and there's Marriott credit cards, Starwood credit cards. You can use those for business expenses and get points for those. And therefore you can have free hotels and free airfare. Many times I've made trips where I haven't had to pay for either of those things. So if you don't have a good strategy in place for one good credit card for an airline and one good credit card for a hotel, I do suggest that you get that strategy in place. And I also have done a podcast on that in the past as well. Number 8, enjoying the journey more. Honestly, the biggest thing we'd change is not financial. It's that we'd let ourselves enjoy the journey more. It's so easy to get impatient when you see that an exit from mandatory work is possible, and we let ourselves get impatient. We had great careers with great employers, and even if that hadn't been true, we wish we'd been in less of a hurry and had focused the entire time on enjoying our lives in the moment rather than focusing so hard on the future. Sure, that future focus helped propel us, but if we'd taken 7 or 8 years to reach our goal instead of 6, we still would have retired incredibly early compared to the norm. We could have spent a few $1,000s more a year on things we enjoyed and not slowed ourselves down all that much, and we could have appreciated work more. We're still ultimately proud of what we've accomplished and thrilled to be living work-optional lives now, but if I could go back and share one lesson with past us at the beginning of the journey, it would be, don't forget to look around and enjoy the present even if it means going a little slower. End of article. Well, I think there's an expression that's called, don't forget to stop and smell the roses. And that's what I'm hearing her say. So we have to enjoy every day because, again, we don't have any guarantee that we have it tomorrow. And you can't put off living until sometime in the future. In this case, they were so focused on getting retired that they really didn't live for quite a while. And they put it off so that they had this hope of this other life that they had planned to live would be so glorious. I wonder if they don't miss being in the work world and accomplishing some things, achieving some things, and really growing as a person. There's nothing bad about work. It's about having the right work, though. And again, if you're not happy in your work, find work that you are happy doing. Maybe that means being an entrepreneur, and maybe you can experience that through a side hustle first and then grow into that as a full-time job. Nonetheless, life is short, and that's why I want you to prioritize what makes you happy in life, and then take your spending priorities and match that, so that what you really want to do, you're doing. Recently, my sister just had a big birthday, and I knew that she wasn't too thrilled about this birthday. So I decided that we would take a trip. We'd go to Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, and I called it the Pretty Woman trip. And we went to Rodeo Drive. We stayed in West Hollywood. We had dinner and lunches at fabulous restaurants. We even took our dogs with us because we love to travel with our dogs. They're very important to us. And while I'm sometimes fine bringing Penny to a dog babysitter, I really enjoy having her with me. And since we were able to drive to Los Angeles from where we live, it was easy to take the dogs with us. There was no plane involved. There was no having to put them on a flight, which is very traumatic for my dog, and I really don't like to have her fly. So driving was an easy thing for us. I found a fabulous Kimpton hotel, which was very dog friendly and yet still a lovely, elegant hotel. And the whole thing turned out so well. It just was a lovely trip to get away for a few days, get a change of scenery. It really just changed our whole outlook and mood. My sister had her birthday and was super happy, and everything worked out great. And that's a memory that I'll have with her forever. And that's the kind of thing that I feel is really important in my life. When my husband was alive, we did things like that, not only traveling together or taking cruises together, but celebrating at a special restaurant for our anniversary or for birthdays. Those small memories make up such a big part of life. And it's worth spending a little bit of extra money to have a nice meal or to go and celebrate at a nice place or to take a short trip. It's worth it. And putting everything on hold so that you can retire early, I think can be very short-sighted. So be sure to live every single day. There's no guarantee we have another day. Money is not more important than actually enjoying and living your life. And try to connect in with a job that really uses your strengths and you feel really good about and that you're making a contribution to and that is helping you grow as a person. I think all of these things are smart uses of your time and your money that are going to give you a very full and happy and healthy life. And you can hear more about that in my book, You're Already a Wealth Heiress, Now Think and Act Like One, 6 Practical Steps to Make It a Reality Now. It's available on Amazon and Amazon.uk for our international buyers. If we haven't yet connected on Instagram, go on over to Instagram.com/Linda P. Jones for my daily wealth tips. And don't forget, we now have another review contest going. 25 prizes will be given away at the end of March. We have 11 Wealthy Mindset Blueprint audios valued at $197, 11 Wealth Heiress books personalized for you, and 3 people will get a wealth mentoring session with me valued at $500. All you need to do is leave a podcast review on Apple. Your name will be in the drawing 5 times. If you leave a book review on Amazon, your name will be in the drawing 7 times. And if you do both, your name is in the drawing 10 times. And this contest goes through March 30th, and the next podcast after that, I will announce the winners. Don't forget, we also have the survey, 10 quick questions to ask a little bit about you and what you'd like to hear in the podcast so that I can tailor make it better for you. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.